Hey, we'll get started here. We are so thrilled to be at the Manning Farm in Iowa. It snows on a Sunday and it's beautiful God's country by Monday, right? One of these things is that we are thrilled to have the Ag Secretary, Brooke Rollins, out here. Now, she is a rodeo girl by heart. She's a super mom of 4 amazing kids, but most importantly, I mean, she's got her kicking boots on, because she is making sure the United States gets to be in the primo spot for leading this forward. So, Secretary, Governor, thank you so much for taking time here in the heart of the heartland to really talk about how important ag is. With that, we're going to turn it right over to Brooke to kind of lead us into what's happening in D.C.
Thank you. Y'all, thank you so much for being here. Governor, thank you. Congresswoman, Ag Commissioner, and our hometown boy, Congressman Nutt. Listen, we've had an amazing day in Iowa so far. We landed early this morning. We went right to an ethanol plant, which was really, really great. Then we came to a hog operation, and then here to see the great work going on here. Next, we go to a hybrid seed location, and then on to an event tonight honoring the great ag leaders of the state. The bottom line is this: when I took USDA over a little bit over 30 days ago, President Trump, he was the first person I talked to after I actually was voted, but not yet sworn in, so it was right in that interim. And the president called me and he said, "You tell the farmers and the ranchers of this country that I have their back, that we will be moving into a golden age of prosperity unlike they have ever experienced before." And I think it probably isn't lost on anyone, especially here in Iowa, that our ag communities, our ag industry has really seen some tough years, going back a long time, whether it's the cost of inputs going up 30% in the last 4 years. When I left the first Trump administration at the end of 2020, early 2021, we had a $0 trade deficit. After 4 years of the last president, that's a $49 billion trade deficit. But listen, these issues go back a lot farther than the last 4 years. Our average age of our farmer in America is 58 years old. So there's a lot we can do. This is the heartland. I'm so honored to be in Iowa. I've had the greatest reception talking to and meeting and hearing the issues from our real farmers who are farming the lands every single day. And my goal is to take that back and effectuate President Trump's vision as the lead of the U.S. Department of Agriculture. So with that, we'll open it up for any questions.
Madam Secretary, in Atlantic, you mentioned that you're working on perhaps market disruption payments. When could farmers expect those? Do you expect them to be fashioned in the same way they were in the first Trump administration?
Regarding the tariff renegotiation, the trade renegotiation, it's happening literally as we speak. As we've been driving from location to location here in Iowa, I've been on the phone nonstop managing a lot of that, or working to ensure that our farmers and our ranchers are represented in those negotiations. What I'll say is this: it is all to be determined. I know we'll have a big announcement on April 2nd, I believe, was the president's next announcement on his trade decisions. And of course, you know, he was elected with the idea of tariffs being one of the top tools in his toolkit to realign the American economy, to put Americans first. But I also know that the president was very proud the last time that then USDA Secretary Sonny Perdue, through some mechanisms through the USDA, was able to ensure that many of our farmers were made whole through those negotiations. We plan to do the same thing the next time. Of course, there are a lot of moving parts on that. We don't have quite the funds we had back then because under the last administration, a lot of those were spent. But we're working on that right now, and as soon as we fully understand the consequences, positive and otherwise, of these new negotiations, renegotiations, we'll have more announcements on that moving forward. Thank you.
Thank you.
What will the otherwise be? That's what people are worried about. So can you explain how Iowans will benefit from these higher tariffs?
I think that what everyone has to realize is that this president is a deal maker, and he has believed for decades, this wasn't just when he came down the escalator in 2015, he has believed for decades that America, and especially our goods, get the raw end of the deal on the world stage. Prime example number one, you probably all read, I was sort of witnessed it when he got very frustrated with Justin Trudeau of Canada because we get a 250% tariff on our dairy products. Whether it's that, I mean, it is example after example after example after example all over the world on how our products are tariffed at a very high rate, sometimes 50, 100, 150, 200% higher, and then we don't do the same thing. So the ultimate vision is to get to fair trade, maybe even free trade. But until we get there, the president believes very strongly, and I of course support that in his cabinet as a longtime policy partner of his, that we have to make some significant changes, and that is what he is doing. He believes very sincerely that for the long term, that this is the right move for the country, that ultimately the economy will thrive and all Americans will be better off. But from my perspective, our farmers and ranchers better off than ever before. But we have some, maybe a couple weeks, maybe a few months while we're working all of that out. The one thing I can tell you on this is that you've got a team of extremely smart people in Washington, D.C., whether it's our Secretary of Commerce, Howard Lutnick, our Secretary of Treasury, Scott Bessent, the head of our trade negotiations, Jamison Greer. You've got some really incredibly talented people who are working day and night to put the American people and American farmers and ranchers first. And I'm really proud of that work, and I think we'll see great results. Thank you for that question. Yes, ma'am.